send me your peace, or I am lost for sure. Oh Lord, here I am, yearning for your cure. This humble servant will be diverted from you no more.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to the last episode of our series, The Best of Tawheed. And in this series, we have sought to look at the best evidences found in the Quran and the Sunnah, as well as from the explanations of the companions of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, and the rulings of the great scholars of the past, with an idea to arrive at the correct picture of Tawheed in Islam. Tawheed being maintaining the unique unity of Allah in our worship, in our concepts, in our lives. So what we found after looking at the various elements of it in our previous episodes, which are now wrapping up this series, we looked at Tawheed of dominion or lordship, Rububiyyah, the unity of Allah's lordship over his creation, that nothing takes place in the creation without his will. It is his dominion. This is the unity of dominion. He alone is the creator. And we looked at that and its implications to our day-to-day life. Then we looked at the unity of his names and attributes. Tawheed al-Asma was-Sifat. Maintaining the unity of Allah with regards to his attributes which belong to him alone, and how that is important in our day-to-day life. Understanding Qadr, how our life operates. What are the forces that govern the operation of our lives? We looked at that, and from both understanding Rububiyyah, or dominion, lordship, as well as names and attributes, we understand these are critical for peace of mind, peace of heart, for one to be able to live a trouble-free life, at least trouble-free from our own perspective, in terms of how we perceive the trials of life. External to us, of course, these trials are coming. We can't escape them. They are all around us. This is just a part of life, how life is. But how we respond to these trials, this is what now determines whether we have peace of mind, our hearts are at rest, we are contented, or we are occupied continually with chasing the things of this world that we will never get enough of. We'll always be dissatisfied. Things come, things happen, things go. We have no real control over it. And the more we find things not going our way, the more we sort of spiral down into a state of depression. So many cases, depression, more lives are lost probably from depression than most other diseases in the world. The problems of the heart and the soul are the biggest problems that humanity faces. Looking further, in this segment, we are now going to look at the final culmination of the concept of Tawheed as embodied in Tawheed al-Ibadah or Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, maintaining the unity of Allah's divinity, his right to be worshipped alone. So we understand that since Allah is the creator of everything, nothing happens except by His permission. And He has knowledge of all things, past, present, and future. Nothing takes place without His knowledge. Then, who should we worship? Meaning, who should we call on for help? Who should we communicate with our problems, seeking solutions? Who should we praise and give thanks to? Who should we glorify for whatever good we have in our life? And everyone has good. It should be Allah. This is why Allah told the Prophet ﷺ, and in telling him told us, Qul, say, Inna salati, indeed my prayers, wa nusuki, my sacrifices, wa mahyaya, my living, wa mamati, and my dying, lillahi rabbil alameen, are for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. This is the statement, the summarized statement of Tawheed al-Ibadah, the unity of worship. That worship governs all aspects of our lives. We either earn reward from doing the things that we do, whether it is going to work, eating breakfast, waking up in the morning, putting on our clothes, playing with our families, going on picnics, entertainment, enjoyment, all of this. Either these things become a source of reward for us, or they may be zero, neutral. There's no harm, that we haven't hurt ourselves, but we don't get any benefit from it. So there's a whole chunk of our lives that's rolling along that we get no benefit from in the long term. Yes, we might get pleasure from these particular things in the short term, but in the long term, there is no real benefit. Or these things can be harmful to us because they are violating the commandments of God. So when we get up in the morning, we get up and we don't pray. When we eat things which are forbidden foods. And we drink forbidden drinks. And we go to work in forbidden places. Banks, breweries, whatever, places which are prohibited. And our entertainment with our family, prohibited. We're watching pornography, things which are forbidden. We, instead of going to a park, etc., we go to places of corruption. So we entertain ourselves with corruption. And when we go to bed at night, we go to bed at night in sin, and we pass another day in Allah's displeasure. So our days roll by. Days which we can never bring back. Lost. Those are the three options in front of us. Either we make the day a day pleasing to Allah. So we get up and we pray. We eat halal, remembering Allah's name before we eat, thanking Him for the food when we finish eating, going to work, working in a place which is halal, a place which is acceptable Islamically. In fact, we try to turn that work into a way of earning further reward by promoting Islam through it somehow, some way. And there's always a way. And with our families, halal entertainment. Or if we're going on trips, rather than going to trips to corruption, and places of corruption, we go to Mecca. We visit other Muslim lands, we meet other Muslim peoples. So all of these things can be done and earn reward for us. Or, as I said, they can be in the middle, they're just neutral, no benefit, no harm, or they can be on the other side, harmful. We have to choose. When we choose the first, then we worship Allah 24/7. That's what that first choice is. To worship Allah 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that worship doesn't mean that we're praying the whole time. We're just praying 24/7. No, we live the life. We live a life. But this life is within the parameters of Islam. That everything we do, we know what is pleasing to Allah in it. And so we strive to do just that. Do it to the best of our ability. Because we're trying to please Allah doesn't mean that we half-step, we don't do the full job. No. Because we're doing it to please Allah, then we want to do the best we possibly can. As the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, told us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مِنْ أَحَدِكُمْ إِذَا عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَنْ يُتْقِنَهُ. That Allah loves from each and every one of you, whenever you do anything, you do it to the best of your ability. So you try to do what is best, with the best, in the best way. So that should make you an even more productive person to society than the one who is ignorant. He's asleep or she's asleep. This life is just what we spoke about before, the animal life. We eat, we drink, we procreate, we die. The animal life. It's either that or it's a real life. A life where our soul's desires are in accordance with what is pleasing to Allah. So, Tawheed al-Ibadah, maintaining the unity of worship, means that we need to know the religion well. Not just say, okay, I know there are 5 pillars in Islam, there are 6 pillars of Iman, you know, I know about the life of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, that's it. Oh, I know a few rulings of Islamic law, you should do, you shouldn't do, that's it. No. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, every Muslim, talabul ilmi farida ala kulli Muslim. Seeking knowledge is a religious obligation on every Muslim. Each and every Muslim has the obligation on himself or herself to gain proper Islamic knowledge. What is that? It's the Islamic knowledge necessary to get you through a day, doing what is pleasing to Allah. So whatever you don't know, you find out. As Allah said in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know if you don't know. So if you don't know what is pleasing to Allah in this aspect of your life, then you find out. Having found out, then you try to do that aspect in a way which is pleasing to Allah. With that, dear viewers, we're going to take a break and come back to wrap up our series, The Best of Tawheed.
This is your brother Salim Al-Amiri. You're watching Peace TV, the solution for humanity.
Analyze your mistakes.
Have you ever tried to overcome your anger?
Realize your weakness.
Do you find it difficult to control your tongue?
Diagnose your moral sickness.
Have you ever felt that your intentions are corrupt?
Learn the steps essential to nourish our souls in Purification of the Soul. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. and repeat telecast at 5:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق.
The Book of Allah is the foundation of Islamic civilization and the way out of every trial. Every generation of Muslims needs to develop a relationship with the Quran. So join me, Riyaz Ansari, for Reflections on the Quran.
Explore how the Quran has a wondrous impact on those who receive it as a book of guidance in Reflections on the Quran with Riyaz Ansari every Friday at 8 p.m. and repeat telecast at 8:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the break. Prior to the break, we were talking about seeking knowledge and how seeking knowledge is essential for us to be able to maintain the unique unity of Allah with regards to His worship. That knowledge was necessary to know who Allah was and who He wasn't, or who He isn't, as well as knowing what we are required to do in this life, what is permissible for us, what is recommended, what is disliked, and what is prohibited. We should know in all aspects of our lives what is the case relative to what we have to do. It doesn't mean having that knowledge in all areas. You're a school teacher. What you need to know is the requirements for you as a school teacher to be a proper Muslim teacher. You don't need to know how you should be doing rocket science. You're not a space engineer. You don't need to have that knowledge, because that's not where you're engaged in. It's knowledge also, but it is not useful knowledge to you. And that's why the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, used to seek refuge regularly, saying, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from knowledge which is of no benefit. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge. We don't need it. We need knowledge for its benefit. So the beneficial knowledge is what we seek. And that's what is required. When the Prophet ﷺ said it is obligatory, he is referring to the knowledge of the hour, the knowledge which is important to you, for you to get through your day doing what is pleasing to Allah. So, for each and every Muslim to be able to worship Allah in all the aspects of his or her life, they need to have this knowledge. Now, where do we get this knowledge from? Well, most people take the knowledge from the society. What people are doing, what everybody else does, they just say, okay, that's the knowledge. But no. Islam requires us to think critically. Not simply because everybody is doing this. All the teachers are doing that. We join the school and the teachers have worked out a system for themselves which will minimize their efforts. So as a teacher, you have to make additional efforts. You have to read beyond the curriculum. You have to think outside of the box. And with that, you can make a difference. You can make a change. You can create a truly Muslim student who is not merely a student that happens to be a Muslim, but a Muslim who happens to be a student. So he or she is Muslim first. They understand that Islam must come first. All of this is a part of Tawheed al-Ibadah. Because how can you worship Allah if Islam is not first? If your nationality comes first, what concerns you is being an Indian, being a Pakistani, being a Malaysian, being an Egyptian. That's what's most important. Your nationalism comes first. But the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had said, "Man da'a ila al-asabiyya falaysa minna." Whoever calls to nationalism, person who is calling others to nationalism, is not from the body of Muslims. Whoever calls to nationalism, who invites others, who promotes nationalism, is not a true Muslim. Because nationalism is in opposition to the universalism of Islam. Nations are man-made, lines drawn on a map, which don't exist in the real world. Sometimes national lines cut through nations, nations of people. Nationalism is not from Islam. Yes, you live in a country, you live in an area, you work to be a productive member of that area, that society, that country, that state, that city. You should be productive. As we said before, quoting the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, the best of people are those most beneficial to society. So it is about the benefit. And we benefit where we are. And there's no harm in having those considerations. But we don't make it our call. That is not the essence of our call. The essence of our call should be to worship Allah, to submit to Him, to live in accordance with Islam in the best possible way. That should be the essence of our call. So the worship of Allah and the worship of Allah alone should involve loving Allah and His Messenger more than anything else in this world. And the Prophet ﷺ had said that we will not become true believers until Allah and His Messenger become more beloved to the believer than anything in this world. Meaning that whenever we have to do anything, the greatest consideration should be what Allah and His Messenger have told us. So we're taking it back to the Quran and the Sunnah. The two pillars of life in Islam. As the Prophet ﷺ had said, I left with you two things. If you hold on firmly to them, you'll never go astray. تركت فيكم أمرين إن تمسكتم بهما لن تضلوا أبدا. Kitabullah, the Book of Allah, wa Sunnati, and my Sunnah. These are the pillars of life in Islam. If we hold on firmly to them, then it is possible to transform our lives from the lives of cattle, sheep, herds of goats and camels, into a life which is dedicated to what is good, to what is beneficial, to what is pleasing to Allah. And I now would like to close our series, thanking you for being with us throughout this series on the best of Tawheed, coming finally to the understanding that our lives should be lives lived in accordance with the guidance of revelation. Lives in which we have sought to please Allah in all aspects. Full lives, conscious lives, lives productive to society. I now bid you farewell and ask that Allah bless this program, that it has been of benefit to you and will continue to be beneficial for you throughout your lives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.